Hi, this is Kim Kohler from Emerging Creatively Tutorials, and you are watching ECT TV, episode 39. Hi, and welcome to episode 39. And if you're caught up on your Emerging Creatively Tutorials television episodes, then you will recognize this necklace. This is the necklace we made on the last episode. And I love this necklace. It's a lot of fun. I've been wearing it a lot recently, and I hope you made a necklace that you love too. But today, we're actually going to make a pair of earrings to go with this necklace. So we're going to be using a lot of jump rings, and I'm going to be using the same beads that I used last time so that my earrings will match my necklace, and you can do the same. This necklace has an ombre effect. It has lots of jump rings, and we'll be interpreting it into a fun pair of earrings. So let me show you what you're going to need for this tutorial. Okay, so let me show you what you're going to need to make these earrings. You're going to need beads, and I'm using beads from the same pack from the last episode when I made the necklace that these earrings will match. And as I mentioned then, I got this big pack of kind of randomly different shapes and sizes and colors, but they were all in this like ombre effect in the package when I bought them. I got a great deal at a flea market, so they're not normally beads I would necessarily buy, but I got a great deal, so I thought, why not try them? I love how the necklace turned out, so I'm going to do the same thing for the earrings. And so I've just picked out 5 beads for each earring, and I picked them out in an ombre effect again, and then the 2 sets match each other. So the 2 dark match. They're the same beads, the same shapes. I don't necessarily think that you have to match them exactly, but you might want to. So however you want to do that, and in fact you may not want to do an ombre effect, that's fine too. You can do it however you like. And one note about how many beads you're putting on your earrings. Some people have more sensitive ears for the amount of weight you're putting on them than other people. So you just want to be careful of how many beads you're putting on. 5 might be too many for you. These are glass beads, but they're small and not that heavy. But if you're more sensitive to that, then I would be, you can maybe use 3 or maybe just a couple, whatever works for you. So take this idea and run with it. Do whatever works for you. So then you're going to need head pins for all of the beads. So if you're using 10 beads, then you'll need 10 head pins. Or you can make your own head pins. I have lots of different tutorials available here on my YouTube channel or over at KimberlyKohler.com, which is my blog, if you want to make your own head pins. You'll need jump rings. So I'm using 7mm jump rings, and you'll need a bunch because we're going to use them to attach the beads, but we're also going to add some extra ones for a little bit extra fun in your earrings. And then you're going to need a chain. You don't need a lot of it, but just a little bit. And I didn't grab any, but you'll need earring wires, and you can make your own, or you can use the kind that you get from the supply store. So those are the basic materials you're going to need. You'll also need these tools. You'll need wire cutters, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and then another set of pliers to open and close jump rings. So bent nose pliers are perfect for that, but if you don't have bent nose, another pair of pliers that are flat, it's like another pair of chain nose or another flat nose pair of pliers you have would work perfectly. So the very first step is that we are going to be making bead dangles out of every bead that we're going to be using for these earrings. So I showed you how to do this last week, and if you've been following me a while, I've shown you how to do this lots of times. I'll go through it quickly again, but we're going to do this, repeat it for each bead that we're using in the earrings. So get your head pin, and I'm using a purchase head pin that I bought from a jewelry supply store, but you can use a head pin that you made or whatever head pin you want. Just make sure the bead doesn't slide off the end. So you slide the bead onto the head pin, and now we're going to grab our round nose pliers, and we're going to grab the head pin just close to the top of where the bead is, with just a little bit of room in between the pliers and the bead. And it's good that if you are making a lot of bead dangles for a project, which we are, you want to keep them consistent. So use the same spot on your round nose pliers for every bead dangle, and you can just use a Sharpie and mark it on your pliers so you know exactly where it is. Alright, so then you just bend the head pins down and around and in between the bead and your pliers. And now we're going to take that off of the round nose pliers, and I'm grabbing my chain nose pliers, and you'll see that loop is not straight on top of the bead, and I want it to be. So how I do that is I straighten it by holding my loop in chain nose pliers, and then I'm going to wrap this wire around one time, but as I do it, I just kind of pull out the bead so that it is straight on top of the bead, so it's centered in the middle there. And now I'm just going to switch hands. I'm still holding that loop in my chain nose pliers. And then you can, if you can do it by hand, you can just wrap the wire around, or this is a great job for your bent nose pliers, and just wrap around a few times, keeping those wraps nice and tight and close together, and try to keep them straight. So now I'm just grabbing my wire cutters, and I'm cutting off the excess wire. And I'm just going back to my chain nose pliers and just making sure that end is not poking out. We don't want it scratching you when you're wearing your earrings. So that is one bead dangle, and we're just going to go ahead and make bead dangles out of all the beads for this earring, for these earrings. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so by the magic of video, all of my beads are now bead dangles. So now we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, so now we are going to get some jump rings, and we're going to attach one jump ring to each bead dangle. So let me show you how to open a jump ring, just in case you don't know already. You are going to grab your jump ring and find that little opening, the little slit in the jump ring. And then you just take your bent nose pliers and your chain nose pliers, or whatever pliers you're using, and line them up on the sides of that opening. And then you're not going to pull out like this, You want to try to keep this circle intact, but just kind of open up the jump ring. So with one pair of pliers, you kind of go forward, the other one you go back, like that. And you see the jump ring is open, but it's still a circle. So we're just going to add one jump ring to each of the bead dangles, and go ahead and close them because we're going to actually be sliding, kind of threading the chain through the jump rings. We're not going to put the jump rings on the links of the chain. So just go ahead and do that. Okay, and then you're going to need about 8 more jump rings. So you want to make sure that they're closed properly. Oftentimes when you get jump rings, they're not closed right, so you might want to just go through and make sure they're all closed. We're going to be using them as completed circles, so we want to make sure they're kind of perfectly closed. So go ahead and check that, and then we're going to put together our earrings. So make sure your bead dangles are arranged the way you want them on your earring. I kind of changed my mind and kind of starting with dark and going out. I was going to just do them in a row before, from lightest to darkest. I decided I didn't want to do that, so I rearranged them. And then you're going to cut 2 pieces of chain. It doesn't really matter how large you cut them as long as they're both the same length. I'm using about 3 inches of chain. If you want them to dangle further down, then you'll need longer chain. If you don't want them quite so long, use shorter chain. We are going to double it up, so that's about how long plus the dangles it will be. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up another jump ring and just attach it to the very end, and this will be helpful to keep everything from sliding off the end of the chain as you're working. So the beads will not slide off that way, that will hold it on. So then we're just going to thread our first bead onto our chain, and how I found this to work really well is just kind of hold the jump ring between my 2 fingers and then kind of drop the chain down through. So that's the first one, and now I'm going to add 2 jump rings, and I'm just going to do it exactly the same way. In fact, you can usually hold both the jump rings in between your fingers, which of course now isn't working for me, or just do one. And just drop the chain through. And then another bead dangle, and you're threading it right through that jump ring, not through the loop you made, but through the jump ring. And then I'm going to add 2 more jump rings, and you can use as many jump rings in between as you want. You might want to use more, maybe you just want to use one, maybe you don't want any. It's completely up to you. And just continue doing this. So just a bead dangle, a couple of jump rings. And I like to end the 2 ends with a bead dangle, not the actual jump rings. Okay, so now the most difficult part of this is opening up this jump ring. We want to put both ends of this chain in this jump ring. It's difficult because you will have to be careful not to spill all of everything you just thread on here. So just kind of work close to your table and let everything lay there. And then carefully grab the other end of the chain, place it on the jump ring, and then you can just put your earring wire right through while you're at it, and then close your jump ring. And so then you have your fun earrings. And that's all there is to it. Like I said, you can really customize these however you want. You could use less beads, you could use less jump rings, or more jump rings, less beads, or more beads. So that any number of color of beads that you want. You could make your own head pins, you can make your own earring wires, you can make the chain longer or smaller. So really just have fun with this and make your earrings. If you missed the last episode, that is where I showed you how to make this necklace, which is the matching necklace. Here we go. So look for that on my YouTube channel or over at KimberlyKoehler.com. And come on over to KimberlyKoehler.com. I'll put a link in the notes of this video if you're watching it on YouTube. And you can sign up for my newsletter and get these episodes right in your inbox bi-weekly when I release them. You also get a PDF that is downloadable of this episode, so if you want to save it or print it and take it to your work table, that is how you get that. And also when you sign up, you get a free 14-day e-course, Introduction to Jewelry Making, where I take you through kind of tools, some techniques, and even some tutorials to get you started in making jewelry, especially if you're interested in wire work. I am strongly influenced by that. That's mostly what I do. That will help you get an introduction to that. So, I will see you in a couple weeks. Have fun. Come on over and let me know if you're making these earrings over at KimberlyKoehler.com. I'd love to hear from you. Hopefully, by the time you come over, there will be a way for you to upload pictures into my comments. I'm working on that right now. So, come on over and leave a comment. I will see you soon.